example of Abidin in his speech. Are you in? Are you in? Have an example of Abidin.
About 10 years ago, in 2007, the CEO of Apple, Steve Jobs, came on stage and introduced something completely revolutionary. He introduced the first ever iPhone. It was the first ever phone which was introduced in that way in front of such a great audience and got such a hype, which didn't have a keypad. Didn't have a keypad, it just had one button and it had touchscreen, like all of your phones today. And a couple of days back, I was watching an interview. It was an interview with the CEO of Microsoft at that time, Steve Ballmer. And the interviewer asked him a question. It had been a few weeks already since the iPhone announcement. He asked him, Steve, what do you think about this new phone from Apple? And Steve Ballmer, in his usual style, started laughing. Ha 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 ha. A phone with no keypad? A phone for $500? Are you kidding me? Who will buy this phone? Nobody will buy. People need phone with the keypad. They need it for business. They need to write email. Nobody will. We are selling millions of phones. 10 years later, Microsoft is nowhere near phone business, and Apple is one of the leaders today. Every phone probably that you are holding in your pockets today has a touchscreen, just like an iPhone. At the same time, I was studying in the university. And you know what? The first time we heard about iPhone, we all said, oh my god, a phone for $500? We definitely cannot afford it. Who will buy this? Definitely no one in Pakistan. You know what? A few months later, I don't know how, but one of my friends, Rizwan, he managed to get hold of the very first iPhone. I don't know how he did it because these were super expensive phones and it was hard to get them in Pakistan. But he wanted to see it for himself and he got it. And when people ask him, why would you spend so much money and effort to get that phone? Like, it's useless. He said that he wanted to get to know it. He wanted to know this new technology. It's so exciting for him. And you know what was our reaction? We laughed. We laughed just like Steve Ballmer. We said, what are you guys talking about? We have other things to do. Guess what? He ended up learning a lot about phone technologies, about making apps. He started working in Nokia, and he later on moved to Silicon Valley, and he still lives there. So he had a very successful career, which I know for a fact that started from the day he made the decision to look at the technology underneath the iPhone. So two different stories at the same time. One guy laughing at something new, another guy wholeheartedly embracing that new technology. All of us here today, who are Toastmasters, who are going to be Toastmasters, are in a very similar situation. There is a product. We can either laugh at it, which a lot of us do, or we can embrace it, which I plan to do, and I'm going to convince you to do as well. And the product, some of you may have guessed, is of course our new educational system called Pathways. Come on, it was mentioned by our two candidates today, of course. Now, you are saying, what is different about this Pathways? This is the first question that comes to everyone's mind. How is it different from our current program? Well, I can tell you how it is not different. And it is not different because the great thing about our current program is our meetings. How we conduct our meetings. We have prepared speeches, we have improvised speeches, we have evaluations and feedback and so on. That's how we learn. And that part does not change at all. Nothing changes at all. So what changes? Right now when you join Toastmasters, you'll get two manuals. One for communication, one for leadership. No longer. You will not get any manual. Why? Because everything is online. Guys, finally Toastmasters decided to go into 21st century. Everything is online. You don't need, if you want, if you cannot use a computer, you can order printed stuff. But most of the things are online. But what has changed then? The change, of course, is the way of delivery. So it is online. The second, there is no different tracks. There is no communication and leadership separately. What they decided to do, they concentrated and asked themselves what are the core competencies that they are going to that our members should learn. And just like Toastmasters shift to the 21st century, let me also shift to 21st century and show you what those core competencies are. These are the 5 core competencies that they identified that our members should learn, can learn from our organization. Public speaking, interpersonal communication, strategic leadership, management, and confidence. How you're going to do it? Not each one of you needs all 5 of them. Some of you don't need strategic leadership because you are not in such a position in your career. Some of you are not managers. You don't need to learn about management. Everyone needs confidence. So how to cater to such diverse needs? They created 10 different paths as a start. And those paths are these: dynamic leadership, coaching, innovative planning. You can read the names. With these, but I want to talk about these numbers. So with each of those paths, for example, with dynamic leadership, what you learn from your core competencies is public speaking, interpersonal communication, strategic leadership, and confidence. And with each of those paths, you learn something different. If your goal is just to be a great public speaker, and that's why you join Toastmasters, there is a specific path for you, presentation mastery, where you just concentrate on public speaking and your confidence. Everyone needs confidence, and that's why it is part of each of those paths. Confidence doesn't come by teaching, confidence comes by practice. And that's what you're going to do when you do all of those paths. All those paths, how you choose them. When you join, when you start the Pathways program, or if you are a new member, you would get a survey. You will ask some questions, you answer your questions, and based on your needs and your answers, Toastmasters will recommend you 3 paths, of which you can choose 1. Or you can choose any other path if you don't agree with their suggestion, if you already know what you want. And then you start on your path. What happens there afterwards? Well, in our current program, when you complete in communication, when you complete 10 speeches, you get a CC. When you complete your CL manual, you get a CL award. Then advanced communicator and advanced leader, nobody can remember after that because nobody reaches that. In Pathways, it's a bit different. You have much more clear paths, and they are called levels. So every path you take, when you progress through the projects, you get level 1, level 2, and so on, starting from mastering fundamentals, learning your style, increasing knowledge, building skills, and demonstrating expertise. And these levels come much more quicker than our current program. So, for example, to get to level 1, you basically need to do 4 speeches. Not 10 to get your first award in CC. So you reach your first level and you already notice some growth when you start. But for me personally, when I started to look into that program, what struck me the most important thing was actually how the projects are structured. It's a bit like our CL manual, where sometimes you have to be an evaluator, sometimes you have to be a Toastmaster to complete a project. Here in Pathways, you may have to do in certain projects multiple things. And some of those things will be speeches, actually most of them, but others would be actually taking a role of Toastmaster, being table topics master, being speech evaluator. But when you look at the first project in Competent Communicator, that's Icebreaker. How many of you have looked at it? Of course, all of you who are members. This is Icebreaker project. It's from our Competent Communication manual. It has basically 4 pages, 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one is evaluation sheet that you give to your evaluator. It has a lot of good information, what to talk about, what this project is, you have to introduce yourself and all that. There's also an Icebreaker project in Pathways that you do regardless of which path you choose. And I printed that. Even though it is online, there was an option to print, and I printed that. It's like a book. This short book. It has 23 pages. It has information about stress, how to manage it, how to outline your speech, what is opening, closing, and body, how to be on stage, what to do in this project. But not only that, since we are finally in 21st century, all of this information is not text. There are actually videos. When you go to that system, you can watch them. That gives you all that information. There is a lot of information for your evaluator on how exactly should he or she give you feedback on this project. very extremely detailed evaluation sheets are part of this project as well. And you know what? They already made it available. So you don't have to wait for March when it will roll out in our district. You can go to that URL, tinyurl.com, are you in, and WS for WrocLove speakers. Go to that URL and you will directly go to this project. You will be able to go through all the project, watch the videos, and you can even do a speech about it. There is nothing prohibiting you to schedule a speech in our club next week and give your icebreaker from Pathways. Now the question is very simple. Are you going to be laughing at Pathways, like those who don't know what it is? Or you will be embracing it wholeheartedly, like my friend did when he thought that this is something innovative and worth checking out. I know that I want to embrace it as soon as possible. And I encourage all of you to read about it and wholeheartedly embrace so that our club is the most active club in Pathways when it finally rolls out in March. I am in. Are you in?